Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 10th of October, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar. We start with currencies, and we'll look at some stock markets, some commodities, and stocks. So just a quick wrap up of markets this Monday morning. So here we see the dollar index, and the charts that I have here are tracker charts. That means that when you click on one of the items here, all 6 charts change. This is my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute chart. So this is a long-term, short-term, a medium-term and short-term view. And on the point and figure, this is a 1% log scale, 0.5% log scale, and 0.1% log scale. So again, long, medium and short-term view. So the long-term view at the top, the medium-term view in the middle, and the short-term view here at the bottom. So dollar index is bullish on the weekly above the cloud, bullish on the daily, and bullish on the 60-minute, finding support on the cloud here this morning. And we see upside targets here. So really, the strong dollar is still the theme here. And short-term, we do have these upside targets on the dollar index, 97, so that's 0.5% upside, and then this 103, which is 7% upside. So a lot of strength here in the dollar showing through. If we look at the euro, not surprisingly, the converse is true. Euro is below on the weekly, just coming back below on the daily, and below on the 60-minute here on the lagging line. So that's bearish. Downside targets about 1.3% downside in the short term, medium term targets of about 8-9% downside, this consolidation pattern before another move down, and then long term targets, although not all activated yet, we need new lows to do that, but long term targets as much as 20-30% down. So dollar looking extremely strong. If we look at the yen, of course the yen is inverted. That means that we see here strong against the dollar on the long-term chart and on the medium-term chart. The dollar is strengthening less. The dollar buys less yen, but here we are just seeing a little bit of a recovery in the short term. But again, strong dollar the theme there. Sterling, of course, being the big story. We've been very bearish about sterling for some time and have downside targets a long way from here, 118, 113, and even below that. So 99 here on this medium-term chart. So parity being the argument. We do see a little recovery off this spike we saw on Friday, but the reality is this is a very bearish chart on all fronts. And of course, what you really need to do when you get these dramatic moves is go to the 1-minute chart. So here we see the daily chart. If we go to the 1 minute, and we see here that straight away we have got the short-term picture. So here's the flash crash. Press the T key on your system. Here we see that we got the recovery. That was 124.70 was the recovery off that flash crash, and that's where we went to. So interestingly, that's where we've got downside targets. We've got another 117.50 if we move below this 122.40 level. So we need to just keep an eye on that, the short-term chart. And of course, you can change the box size to look at this on the very short term. So absolutely vital if you are trading currencies is to look at the 1-minute point and figure charts and update. If we look at sterling euro, again a very bearish picture, downside targets here, about 2% downside still on the medium term chart, a shortage of targets on the other charts though, so a bit harder to call. If we look at the Swiss franc, about 1 to 1.3% downside is here as well, 15% downside long term on the Swiss franc, sterling against the Swiss. So very, very difficult if you're going skiing in Switzerland this year if you're a Brit. If we look at the Aussie rate, just to highlight sterling against other currencies, we see here as much as 2.7% downside as well. So really very bearish picture still for sterling. If we take a look at stock markets, S&P closed at 2153 or 2154 on Friday, really struggling around this 2150 area. There's strong resistance at 2180 and 2120, so we really are stuck in this range and have been for several weeks. We see the long-term upside targets, the downside targets were taken off the chart this summer with the new highs. It is a bullish picture. We've just turned a little bit bearish in the medium term and got some downside targets here, so a bit of a mixed picture at the moment. It's not all plain sailing, but long-term bullish, short-term looking a little bit less bullish. Nasdaq much the same, bullish, just hanging on in the bullish there, but again we're just seeing some downside targets emerging, and the same for the Dow as well, of course. Russell 2000 index, the smaller caps, a similar picture, clearly not making the new highs that we saw in 2015. So the broader market in the US not managing to make new highs, and not as bullish picture as the bigger cap indices. If you're in the UK or in Europe, it is quite good to look at the futures. The future is suggesting about 0.3% upside up today, and if we look at the Nasdaq, about the same. So it does look like the market will open a little bit higher. We take a look at FTSE. The FTSE has convincingly broken this 7,000 level. We do just have a little bit of resistance to this same price level from last year. So summer of 2015, we are bullish above the cloud, bullish on the weekly, bullish on the daily, bullish on the 60-minute. So again, we're seeing these upside targets. The FTSE 250, again, not quite as bullish. The upside potential not quite as high, and we are just flirting with some bearishness here on the 60-minute chart. This is the more domestic index, so we shouldn't be surprised to see the large caps benefiting from the week's pound. Here we see the DAX still bearish on the weekly. We're not quite above on the lagging line, so a bit of a bearish picture there. We have got downside and upside targets. Bullish on the medium term, and upside potential of about 7.4%. That's what we're seeing is what we call the cluster 2 targets to that same area, and we're bullish on the 60-minute as well. Take a quick look at the Nikkei. We're seeing here bearish, bullish, bullish. So, but we do have quite a lot of downside targets here, so a little bit worrying still, but some short-term strength. Shanghai had a better night. It was up 1.5%, and we see here that we are still bearish below the cloud, bullish on the daily, and just about to turn bullish on the 60-minute, but we do have these downside targets. So China's still quite a mixed picture. Hang Seng, much the same. We've got bullish, just turning bullish on the weekly, so a little bit ahead of the Shanghai market there, and we are bullish on the daily and on the 60-minute. If we take a look at India, looking a bit bearish on the short term, and we have got some downside targets, but quite a lot of upside targets as well. Here we see the daily and the weekly charts looking bullish, so one of the more bullish markets in Asia. Australian market, bullish short term, bullish medium term, and just turned bullish long term. So quite a good picture here. We're seeing targets as high as 8% here, so quite a good picture there. Take a look at commodities. We start with Brent, bearish long term below this cloud, although price is just starting to get through, and we see here that we're bullish on the daily chart, although the June high of 52.50 is acting as resistance right now, and we are seeing that we're short. The short-term chart is just holding that bullishness. Upside targets as high as 60 and 70, and we're seeing here again the upside potential in the short-term charts. But there are downside targets, about 2% downside on the 60-minute chart, and then an upside target of about 54.80 on the 60-minute chart as well. So a mixed picture there. If you're trading crude, take a look at the 1-minute charts. Here we see the weekly chart on WTI, bearish, bullish, bullish, very similar to Brent as we would expect. Heating oil, much the same picture there. And if we look at nat gas, US nat gas, just turning bullish on the weekly for the first time in a while. Bullish on the daily, bullish on the 60-minute, looking like a better week for nat gas. Upside targets to around 540, that's 70% upside, and then 350. So this is the convincing breaking of the 3 level. So we're at 315, so it's looking a lot more bullish. Looking at corn, bearish, bearish, bearish. So what I love about these charts is very quickly you can just get the picture, long, medium, and short term. Downside targets, about 40% downside there on corn, so that's a long-term target, of course. Soybeans just turned bearish again, bearish and bearish, so softs just generally not looking so great. Wheat, bearish, bearish, and just holding a little bit of bullishness there, but all these downside targets, look at that, really very showing wheat's got potential downside. Coffee is just turning bullish in the long term, bullish in the medium term, bearish on the short term, more upside targets, and quite a lot of clustering upside targets here, so a better picture than most other softs. Here we again see we got bullish, bullish, bullish on sugar, so that's quite good as well. Cotton, Bullish, bearish, bearish. So again, just the picture changing a little bit there. Cocoa, bearish, bearish, bearish. So softs generally not looking great. Gold had quite a big sell-off last week. Long term it's bullish. Upside potential of 35, 36%. Just turned bearish in the medium term with that move last week, and downside potential back to the low 1200s. This is the place we'll see the trend reverse first. Is the 60-minute chart. Watch out for any new targets there. Silver, quite a similar picture, and we shouldn't be surprised to that. And then copper, bearish, just turned bullish on the daily, and just mixed on the 60 minutes, so a bit hard to read as well. Just take a quick look at the bond market. US bonds is the 5-year bond. Just seeing the rates. This is the yield chart. Just seeing rates improving a little bit here. 134, the upside target there, and 143. So it looks like we're seeing just a strengthening in rates. This is the Eurobond future, the Bund, and this of course is quoted as the Bund, so it's not the yield. And we're seeing bond market here just suggesting long-term strength in bonds, weakness in yields, therefore weakness short term, which just means yield strengthening as well, consistent with that US chart. Just a last look at some US bellwethers. Apple just starting to turn a bit bullish here again, bullish on the weekly, just bullish on the daily, and bullish on the 60-minute. Upside targets of about 7-8%, but in the short term a bit more of a mixed picture. We take a look at Google, bullish, bullish, and just turn a little bit bearish in the short term. Amazon has been the real star, bullish, bullish, bullish on all charts here, although less targets to play for. This 825 target was given back in May at 583, so we've really done that big move. But still looking a pretty bullish chart. Facebook, bullish, 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 and lots of upside targets here, 30% upside potential, so and some short-term ones, so Facebook might have a better week. And Nvidia, one of the stocks I hold, has done an incredible, more than doubled in the 6 months that I've held them, but starting to just look a little bit toppy here, so I'm very much on guard there. US market is the really one to watch this week, and of course sterling. But that's it for today. See you again tomorrow. Happy charting.